I was supposed to be doing a interview tonight, and the lady had to cancel last minute. Bless her. So she's having a tough time. So all my love to her. But I thought we'd talk about hexing the moon. Yes, we we're going to talk about hexing the moon. That is what we are about to discuss. I don't know if this is working. I think it is. And so I'm just going to see if I can see any comments or anything, because they've changed everything. It's all very weird. I hate it when they do this with technology. It's confusing enough as it is normally. Aha, I am live.
What we are
so if I silence myself there, can I see comments?
I think it is. And so
would you kindly show me comments thing, honestly? Can someone let me know if they have commented so I can see it? Oh, there we go. All right, good. So we're going to talk about hexing the moon. So I did post about this earlier because I was going to share some of my thoughts on the latest gem to come out of TikTok. Which is people on there supposedly are on about hexing the Fae, hexing the moon, and are going to hex the sun. I'm going to respond to this the way that I did when Virgo told me about it. I was like, because I try and avoid WitchTok these days. Like, I tried for a hot minute with WitchTok, but I'm going to actually preface this by saying I do have a lot of issues with the app TikTok. For one, you are not allowed to have the app if you work in a government building, because it is known to listen into your conversations, to access things even when the app is turned off. It's massively invasive. It's tracky, it's malware, it's not good from that perspective. There's a whole lot of spying going on with that app, and that's the first issue with it. The second issue that I have with it is that it is not regulated, and there is rampant hate all over it. There is... Oh, we have moved into the new moon. Into Leo. We've moved into Leo, everybody. So that's my witch app telling me we have moved into Leo. It's super exciting. A better use for an app. Anyway. So my second problem is there is rampant hate across it. It's not moderated. In the brief periods I've been on there, I have seen so much bullying, so much hatred, body shaming, pro-anorexia, pedophilia, racism, sexism, and homophobia running rampant. There's been ableism on there with people mocking people with disabilities. And I'm not going to say the entire thing is negative, because they have used it for positive things. They did that whole derailing Trump's rally recently. So it's not that everything across the board is negative on there, but the overwhelming influx seems to be really, really just unpleasant. I had somebody whose morning today told me their morning started today when they came across this TikTok video being shared around where this guy justifies sending dick pics to women without permission, because if they asked for permission, women would say no, so they weren't going to ask permission. Incel! Yay! So all together, hi Daisy Doo. Daisy's having a move. I'm not a fan of this energy that it puts out there. I find the energy to be unpleasant and toxic and stirring, and just being around it just Is it Daisy too? There she is, having a snack. Just because everybody always asks, where's Daisy? And we're actually on the Logitech rather than on Zoom, so you can actually see her moving around, making a... Yeah, kids outside at gone 9 p.m. at night. Thanks, guys. So I'm sorry if you can hear screaming once again. I thought we would be safe after nearly 9:30 p.m. Apparently we are not. Wow. I am so sorry, guys. I really thought we would be safe after 9 p.m. with that. So, the third issue I have with this rampant screaming, the third issue that I have with TikTok is that I honestly feel it has been created to be against being well informed. I feel that it is addictive on purpose. Because if you think about the setup, the premise, right? The longest you can record it for is a minute. Most popular videos are 15 seconds, and it's like a dopamine hit over and over and over and over again, right? So and then you keep going, keep scrolling through, keep getting a little high off each video, or that is what you're searching for, to laugh, to find things amusing, to whatever. And so it's like a little dopamine hit to the brain over and over and over and over again, which encourages habit forming in young people to kill the attention span. And that killing of attention span is, in my mind, problematic because it discourages people from engaging with resource material, which means deeper diving, which means longer attention spans, diving into the material, reading, listening to longer talks, holding a conversation. All of that is discouraged by apps such as this, which are basically addicting people to the scroll and flick, instant gratification bullshit. And honestly, the more time goes on, the more examples of that are present in social media. It's even to the point where they try and encourage people on YouTube to do really short videos, and they penalize people who are like over 5-10 minutes. So that element of it is really bothersome to me. I think that the fact is a presence on there for things like witchcraft and spirituality is a problem for all sorts of reasons. And I'm going to mention a few things that I've noticed on there or been told about on there, which I find to be problematic before we get into hexing the moon. So there are people on there pretending to be the goddesses themselves. So it was brought to my attention that there's somebody on there claiming to be the Morrigan. Like, not a follower of the Morrigan, they're claiming to be the Morrigan incarnate. So isn't there a new app that gives TV shows in 10 minutes? I have ADHD, so my attention span can be poop, but when I saw that I felt that it was mildly problematic and I couldn't pinpoint why. I don't know if there is. I tend to avoid this sort of thing a lot of the time. I'm a dinosaur when it comes to technology. I really hate it. I try my best to learn the new technologies to be down with the kids, but yeah, I don't. Okay, so before, I'm a storyteller. I enjoy good, well-crafted, in-depth stories. I don't mind things like Netflix that give you everything all at once and you can devour them all in a day or two setting. I don't mind that so much. Don't you dare, Daisy, do. Or right up against the camera, right up there. You naughty bum. I thought we were going to come flying at my face then for a second, because Daisy was right behind it. So I like well-crafted stories as well as information. I like everything to have a place, a purpose, a depth. a motivation and things like that. So anything that's like beep 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 beep, I'm like, this is so, I mean, firstly, it's boring to me, like, but it's so time consuming at the same time. I don't know if you've ever been on TikTok, but you can just be there, and before you know it, you've wasted so much of your time on there because you don't realize your poor management skills for time, because each video is only 15 seconds to a minute, so your brain isn't registering that you're spending so much time on this app, because it's like dopamine hit, dopamine hit, dopamine hit, 2 hours is gone, you know, and it's a complete waste of time, as far as I'm concerned. So I have many concerns with that. I have mentioned in the past that I feel like the encouragement of the short attention span is done on purpose to control people. The less educated people are, the less research people do, the more the people cling to like titles rather than reading the whole article, things like that, or that people don't do their own research, the easier people are to control. So I'm not a fan of that. As I was saying, yeah, there are people pretending to be the goddesses on TikTok. I'm sure there are other places as well, but this really has given a platform to people. I know that it exists. I know that there are people who walk around and like, you are the Morrigan incarnate. I've had people ask me if I'm the Morrigan incarnate, and I'm like, no. This is my exact reaction to these things, all of these things. I'm just like, what? Like, and that was my exact reaction to hexing the moon. And I have got the comment section up from earlier because there were a few points that other people made that I thought were great, that I did want to bring up, and sort of accredit them for their thoughts as well. The second problem before we get into the hexing the moon, is there is a vast amount of bullying in spiritual circles on WitchTok. There is this whole thing about like people trying to teach and young people being like, you're a gatekeeper, how dare you try and control the information, which is really problematic because you've got young people trying to dismiss any kind of information, or anything in depth, or being told they need to research or anything. And then you do have people on the other side of that who are like talking down to people on there, who've been really rude. I have seen a lot of bullying. There was one young girl who had upset some people in the Morrigan community, because she was basically going from any outsider is not allowed to work with the Morrigan, and she was ranting in Irish, to prove these people weren't allowed to work with the Morrigan, because they didn't speak the native tongue. And it became like this whole xenophobic, bullying, racist diatribe, and it was very unsettling for a lot of people in the Morrigan community who either don't have the money to be learning a language that is not their native one. There was a massive like dismissal of classism, and like, yeah, it would be great for everybody who the Morrigan calls to learn Irish, but not everybody has the time, not everybody has the natural gift for languages, it's not everybody's calling, and it's the goddess. So yeah, we're getting to hexing to the moon, I promise. I'm just going over my issues with TikTok as a whole. So there has been that kind of bullying on there as well, and misinformation. There was somebody who shared, and it's got thousands and thousands of hits, is this person who's like, how to know if this goddess is calling you, how to know if that goddess is calling you, and it's literally like bullet points for each goddess. And the Morrigan one, oh gosh, I don't say this really very often, and I really hesitate to say this, but it was just wrong. I know, I'm not often like hard case, it think this information is wrong, but it was saying things like, the Morrigan prefers water signs, like astrologically, and I was like, No. 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 So the first thing is, this was assuming like your sun sign, right? Didn't even mention the fact that didn't even mention like the fact that you have a whole natal chart, and your whole natal chart is made up of many different planets and influences. And I was like, we're all mostly water. You get that, right? Like physically made up. Like most humans are mostly water. I mean, all humans are mostly water, unless they're severely dehydrated or dead. So, you know, there is this misinformation out there. It's just getting hundreds and thousands of eyes on it, and that's frustrating. And it's very frustrating when, yeah, I know. Goddess is preferring certain astrological signs. They're looking at our natal charts like, can't with you, honey. Can't with you. You're a fire sign. No. Can't imagine why the Morgan might like someone with a bit of fire in their chart. Can't have it. The TikTok says I prefer water. I can't remember the rest of them, but that was the one that was really ridiculous on that one. Anyway, so there is a lot of misinformation on there, and of course, because it's 1 minute 15-second videos, there's very little accrediting. It's just people spouting what they know. I'm not saying that every single person on there is without merit, because I'm mostly coffee too, I agree. So, you know, there are going to be people on there who are not who are not misinformed. There are going to be people on there that know what they're doing and talk in depth and all the rest of it, but I don't want to tar everyone on there with the same brush. But to me, I don't like it as a platform, and every time we hear about WitchTok, it's not good. Every time we've heard about it, it's drama mongering, gatekeeping, people fighting and hexing each other. The last time there was a big thing from the WitchTok, it was because people were hexing other people at random on there, and it is just ridiculous. So if you haven't heard the Hex the Moon story, oh, my brain hurts even saying this out loud. I might be getting old when I get to the point where I'm like, is this for real? Like, and it might not be. There is a line of reasoning that there is a massive trolling going on, which is possible. We won't discredit or discount that, although we will say the first person who started this, they started off by saying, yeah, I know. I was like, you've got to laugh though, right? So the first person who started this off was initially saying they were going to hex the Fae, which is good luck with that. And what apparently happened is like everything blew up after they said this, which sounds very much like the Fae fucking with them. To be honest, now some people have said that the moon and the sun thing has been added to this, like through Chinese whispers style. There has been. My opinion of it is the first person, and I know this for a fact now, the first person removed their posts or video or whatever, and said that they apologized after the fact and said they were doing it for attention, which was my assumption, to be honest. So when Virgo came to me later and said, oh, that I found this, and that they said they've removed their stuff and they were doing it for attention, I was like, well, at least my insight is not skewed then, because that was exactly what my thoughts were. Now, I am assuming there are a few other people who have joined in with this hexing the moon, hexing the Fae, hexing the sun crap. I can't tell you why they decided this was a good idea outside of attention seeking, because any kind of attention is good attention, right? For internet fame. The problem that I have largely with this, though, is not necessarily that there were dumb kids who said they were going to do this, which but the fact that the response to it has been a lot of people giving, yeah, they're definitely getting attention. There's a lot of people giving this credence or responding to it like they have the power to do this. And apparently now, which is the worst, this is the worst, there are people on there, or in general, who are acting like those witches are the bad witches, and they're the good witches, and they're going to protect the moon with their magic, with their spells. And I was like, because Virgo told me this, because I refuse to go anywhere near TikTok, especially when it's like this. And I was like, what? He was like, it's a video game. We're in a video game. And I was like, it's actually really insidious, because there are people out there who are now like, look at me. I am the savior of the moon. Um, yeah, nobody. Okay, so this is my feeling on hexing the moon. Now, before that, they need to hex 45 and COVID. I think honestly, my reaction was, why are we not doing spells for social justice, like getting Breonna Taylor's murderers locked up? Why aren't we doing spells for that? Um, or healing, like healing the world and things like that. No, we are wasting time with this crap. Um, so, you cannot hex the moon. I promised my friend I would say that one sentence. I was like, I can't believe in all my years have led to this moment where I have to sit on a video and be like, you can't hex the moon. Now, it's not Charmed, it's Sabrina. That was my next point. So I realized that the hexing the moon thing has actually come from the new Sabrina show, where they do in fact hex the moon and make it turn red, and then the other witches can't draw their power from it in that show. The third series just was shockingly awful, camp, and whatnot. So it doesn't come from Charmed. That's the wrong generation. It comes from Sabrina. So just in case anybody wanted to know, that is where the cultural reference is coming from this time. Now, to the people responding like this, like, oh, the goddesses will be harmed by this. The moon goddesses will be furious with this. Like, my response is like, I don't think so, guys. Like, chill. Like, firstly, think about what the goddesses have endured throughout the centuries, right? With the advent of patriarchal Christianity that has destroyed their temples, pulled down their statues, murdered their followers, brainwashed as many people as possible for generations, tried to destroy the goddess from the spiritual dialogue, even taking away the Christian goddess from the Christian mythos, and she exists in the Christian mythos in the beginning. It's not kids reacting to kids on TikTok. No, there are adults involved now. But goddesses are still here. Goddesses are more powerful than ever. They evolve, they survive, they thrive, they adapt. And honestly, Muppets saying they're going to hex the moon probably doesn't even register on their radar. Is it disrespectful? You can make that argument, sure. It's really ill-informed, and it's very rooted in shadows of desperately needing attention. And it doesn't matter where that attention comes from, it just matters that that attention is found. And that, I think, is a major issue in our society across all social media, because social media is definitely a vapid, empty tool for recognition, where we often measure our worth in likes, in views, in engagement, in how many people care and respond to us. And social media gives us a platform to perform for so many people. And if we're not receiving that dopamine high from social media, then we feel miserable, and it can cause depression and all sorts of things. It's like that's how people get addicted to social media, and I think TikTok is the worst example of that for the reasons that I mentioned earlier, with the constant dopamine high of the videos on two ways. So one, you're scrolling through, you're laughing, you're getting dopamine highs off each individual video, bam, 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 bam. But also if you're a creator and you're desperately trying to get thousands of eyes on you and thousands of likes, trying to get things to blow up. So that's a twofold thing. That's true with any social media that we pop on, and nobody's immune from this. I'm not immune from this, because I make videos, I put videos out there. It makes me sad if there's not a lot of engagement or not a lot of views that I put a lot of time and heart into it. Now, I know how much research I do. I know how much it means to me, and that gives it a little bit more weight in my mind. But to other people who don't care about spirituality or witchcraft, mine is no different to, say, gamers on the internet or anything else. It's just trying to reach people, so I'm not going to say we're beyond it, we're not, but yeah, so that I think is one of the major problems with that. I don't feel like the moon goddesses are under any particular threat. If these people even hexed, if they even bothered, you can make arguments about saying things and like manifestation of our word and intention. I tend to doubt these people actually tried to hex the moon or tried to hex the sun or the fae. Now, if they try to hex the Fae, they're probably going to be in trouble. That is the area that I feel like there would be pushback. I don't think the Fae would be in trouble at all. I feel that the Fae would teach these people a lesson, regardless of whether or not the hexing was effective or even carried out. I feel like the moon goddesses, the goddesses, and the deities would just be like, whatever, stupid human, right? The Fae, I feel like I'm getting chills up my entire body now. Like, I feel like the Fae would definitely slap you around the face to teach you a lesson because it kind of suggests a human hubris that I feel is truly confrontational to the Fae. Now, depending on how you feel about the Fae or their origins, you may feel that they're very closely tied to nature. I do. And the land and the environment. And the land and the environment, of course, is more under threat than it has ever been. So for then this kind of hubris to come in, like, I'm going to use spirituality to hex the Fae, I just feel like they would fuck with you and teach, because it's a teaching. I feel like they would be like, this is a teaching moment, humanity, which is somebody else's theory. Was it Nathan? Let me see if I can find it. That this was actually he felt like maybe this was the Fae that had basically, yeah. I'm going to say what he said. A girl who is never tagged commented on a live and stated she was going to hex the Fae. Apparently, immediately the host of the live shut it down, explained to the girl that this was not a good idea to even talk about doing it. So then the host followed up a live explaining why one shouldn't even discuss this. It was taken off immediately and everyone was just doing it, explaining why it was not a good idea. my assumption is the Fae heard her talking shit and trying to be big and bad on social media, and now they are publicly humiliating her by using magic to inspire people to talk about how dumb of an idea this was. I mean, you know that girl has got to feel pretty silly right now. And so that idea that this whole blow up is actually the Fae teaching humanity a lesson is great. I love that. I was like, that is fantastic, and that was Nathan that came up with that. And I kind of dig that idea that maybe the Fae are like why we're all having this conversation, um, because they're like, let's talk about the stupidity of humanity. So I just don't think they have the power to hex the moon. I don't think it is a thing. I do feel that the people giving it credence and kind of fear-mongering around it are problematic, and there are adults joining in on this conversation to that end, as well as adults putting themselves in positions of, I will be the savior of the moon. That is problematic because it's giving power and credence to this thing, and that is an issue in and of itself. And why it is, why more people were not like kind of laughing and like, what the heck is going on with it? Because like my immediate reaction was like, why? Why though? I was like incredulous, disbelief, like this is ridiculous. Like, is this trolling? Like, and you know that it's a hoax or trolling has been put forward as suggestions, which is of course possible. There could be like a nefarious thread line through it. Now, I will say that there could be an element of that, and this is the reason why. There has been a big focus on witches because of the Black Lives Matter movement, particularly on TikTok. I found this insidious as well, that a lot of witches were increasing their numbers by using TikTok and Black Lives Matter on TikTok to bolster their own platform. Rather than using their platform to support Black Lives Matter, they were kind of like leeching the energy off it and drawing people into like eyes on them. And the reason for that is there was a lot of those memes and images around where it was like, you know, when you've got the Amish and these people and the witches and all these people in the same room agreeing, you've gone fucked up. And then it was people that were coming out to protest with Black Lives Matter, and you know, you had the Amish, you had witches, and there was a big like, oh my god, they're all, you know, they're both agree on something for the first time ever. And you know, there was that amusing element around that, but also there is the sad side effect that people were using that to their benefit. People were using that to increase their numbers on places, particularly TikTok, where there was a lot of those videos being made. The Black Lives Movement matter was huge, and had a lot of eyes on it. And my problem with it now is these people have like taken their numbers off it and are just ignoring that these people still matter. The social justice still needs to occur. We still need to not be silent. And a lot of people are. A lot of people are like, oh, well, it's not trendy anymore. Move on to the next thing. And I'm not okay with that either. Because that, again, is another symptom of short attention span and how that allows other people to get away with literal murder because of short attention spans and people not like following through with the need for change. So that I also have an issue with. It's not okay. It gives me the hibbity-jibbities, and makes my skin crawl, to be honest. So, do I feel that those goddesses are in trouble? No. They are, like I said this in my podcast on Patreon today, that in the most simple terms, big goddess, little human. We are to them like ants are to us, and they are so beyond our full understanding that I honestly don't feel that they would take any of that very seriously. I don't feel that there was any real power put into the hexing itself. It was just an attention-seeking grab. And to that end, they've got plenty of attention, but it likely wasn't the attention they were looking for. They probably wanted to come off as edgy and scary and all of that crap. And what they got was almighty bitch slapped, but probably with Fae influence, to be real. A whole lot of people telling them how rubbish and how ridiculous this notion is. So, yeah, I really don't like the people who've used that to increase the numbers. Like, with the Black Lives Matter thing, I thought long and hard before any video I made on it, because you know I was very aware of that. Like, you want to balance talking about these things, not being silent, supporting them, but not like benefiting from them, which is why I take any monetization off Black Lives Matter. Really, names test right in the middle of a live, go away. That's why I take any monetization off those sorts of big face, silly human. Exactly. Any kind of monetization off those kind of videos, because I don't feel it's right to profit off those sorts of things when what you're actually doing is opening the platform for social change. So, yeah. I don't really know what else to say about the whole hexing the moon. I don't feel that it was, like, it boggles my brain where this even came from. Like, why the moon? Like, what? Did you look at the moon and just thought, I hate the moon? Like, who hates the moon? You know, witches revere the moon, right? That's like pretty standard witch 101. Witches are all drawn to the moon. We live by the moon, right? That's a witch thing pretty much universally, and it is really odd. And maybe that's why it was picked. The Fae is not something that is as universal. Like, some witches will work with the Fae, some witches will not. You know, so there's a thing, but like all witches tend to love the moon. Um, so maybe that's why it was picked, because that was gonna affront the most amount of people, like create the most amount of drama for likes. God, it makes me sick. I don't like, yeah, exactly. I must be getting old because I don't get it either. I'm like, I don't even understand it. I'm like, have I gone past the point where young people make sense anymore? Like, certain things you can totally see the logic, but like, no, that one doesn't make any sense to me at all. What did the moon do to you? Did the moon look at you funny? Did the moon wake you up in the night? What happened? Did the moon say mean things? Why have you got beef with the moon? Oh my god. That should be a meme. Why have you got beef with the moon? Oh. Oh god, guys. Right. So, I don't know that we can add any more than we've already added to it. Like, I'm pretty sure that everything that comes out of WitchTok is, most things are pretty toxic from there. I've started calling it toxic talk, to be honest. And dancing in the moonlight. Oh, you are young people. Okay, maybe it just makes no sense to most people then. And I do know that the reaction has been way bigger than the original thing, and I feel like everybody who was involved in the original thing has taken those videos down. Yeah, please somebody meme it. Please, please make a meme of why you got beef with the moon. That would be hilarious. Another suggestion that I did read, and I can't find it right now. This was not my response. was that the only thing that this would achieve is likely hexing their own moon sign and bringing out the negative qualities prevalent within their own shadows in their emotional states, ruled by the moon in their own charts. And so I thought that was a very intelligent response to the likely consequences of hexing the moon. And it was on my the other Facebook post that I had posted earlier, but I couldn't find it because I shared a meme that I made, which was like, just don't hex the moon, okay? And I did feel like that was a really interesting idea, that what they were actually doing is hexing themselves, hexing the water within, hexing the moon part of themselves. So somebody else did say on, like, someone's like, oh, apparently 6 people have died. And I was like, I find that unlikely. I find like that's more drama mongering, more like sensational bullshit. And if that gets shared around, that makes me think that there are people behind it who just want to attack witches, because they want to disempower non-Christian faith. And so if that becomes a bigger thing than it already is, then I 100% believe that that is going on. We'll see what comes of this, if this fizzles out in the next few days or not. So if anybody's got any questions, now is the time. We've been here for a whole 40 minutes, so you know, over my 10-minute quota by quite a bit. I'll probably put this on YouTube later. We'll see. I'll just hang on for a minute in case it's behind and let you guys catch up. So if there are any questions, you can just let me know if there was anything I hadn't covered in this. Playing with fire and not knowing the consequences of their own power, not knowing self, really. I don't know that it... I feel for them in a way, because, like, I feel sorry for them that they live in times where any attention is good attention. And you can see that with some of the people who've been made internet famous. The woman now that was Catch Me Outside, how about that woman, she got quite rich off the back of that nonsense. You know, people behaving badly on the internet, the Paul brothers and all that crap. Like, people get famous off it. People make a lot of money. This is my real life background. This isn't even fake. I usually have the Zoom background. So, you know. Do you think the New Age corruption of the many pagan paths may have played into this nonsense? It depends what you mean by New Age. I'm gonna guess at what you mean. So, I'm wary with the term New Age, because technically we're all of the same age. We're all New Age compared to spirituality of the past, and I don't feel that we worship like our ancestors worshipped. Even if we try and honor them, we live in an age which is so separate to them that we just aren't going to worship in the same way. We can try and integrate elements and aspects of it, but we're not, you know, we are not old age. Everything is New Age. So I know what you mean, though. That there is a tendency towards this kind of sugar-coated spirituality that is fed to us, and it is encouraged through things like TikTok, which give short bursts of information, which doesn't allow for any depth. And that is one of the major problems I have with it, because it discourages people from a depth of thinking, from personal research, from practice. It doesn't represent a balanced approach to spirituality. I'm not saying there aren't things that can't be done well on there, But it definitely discourages education because it's like bip and gone, bip and gone, bip and gone on TikTok. And so I think that a lot of the things on there are symptomatic of the app itself. So if young people are only learning about spirituality through that medium, then they're not getting any depth. And all mediums that have preceded it have been argued against by certain people for certain reasons. But I feel like other elements allow a depth that TikTok does not, because it's over in a flash. So even Instagram has longer stories and things on there. It has the ability to write text under the images. The images can portray a depth of storytelling in and of themselves if done well. It's not to say that everybody on Instagram does that, because some people do not. Some people are there for like the aesthetic only. Love to you too, Barbie. Um, and TikTok in of itself kind of discourages any further investigation. Like YouTube is pretty good for length, I think, but in that, even though it's discouraging it, you can find videos which are more in depth, which are longer, which explore things, which give sources, give, you know, quotes and information and point the direction to different ways. And if you're doing lives like this, then, you know, people are interacting a little bit more. Then, you know, people can direct you to further information and things like that. So that's how I kind of feel about the New Age question. I'm just going to scroll up and see if there was any other questions. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you like the lashes. It took me a good hot minute to get any of them to work. So, seriously concerned about the lack of education. I'm bewildered, like what the, yeah, exactly. It does feel like a lack of, building your own faith. I feel that could become purely aesthetic. Well, yeah, there's somebody did bring that aesthetic argument into the TikTok thing, so it has been on my mind earlier, that the purely aesthetic aspect of things is difficult to, because I struggled with that for a very long time, because I was against the idea of aesthetic witchcraft, because it felt to me like a disrespect of the work that went into most people's witchcraft. And witchcraft isn't always pretty. It's not always like that picture perfect image that you see on Instagram. And often the images that you see on Instagram of witchcraft, they don't feel genuine, because you know that when you're in the thick of creating spells and stuff, you're not usually giving it that photogenic quality. It's not like perfect angles and perfect spread of herbs usually, right? So it feels disingenuous, I guess, is where some of that comes in. And often a lot of the pictures are taken on purpose just for that aesthetic, but then it depends on the intention behind it. Is that then used to educate? And does it open things up? And people are, you know, people get really funny about just dressing like witches. And I'm like, yeah, but I kind of like the witchy clothing. And so if there weren't people who were just into it for the aesthetic, I might not be able to get my hands on witchy clothing. And I like having access to witchy clothing. I like that ability to dress differently and bring that element into the you know, the realm of my existence. So yeah, so I feel like we've probably exhausted the topic of hexing the moon, I guess. Um, Although I probably should say that it also kind of undermines the hexing as well, doesn't it? Because a lot of us, I'm surprised this hasn't actually come up, because usually there's a whole ethics conversation that happens around hexing. about whether you should or whether you should not, and everybody does but nobody admits it, all that kind of conversation. And honestly, hexing and cursing to me is a necessary part of witchcraft, which is often done as a last resort, and is often done from a place of oppression to free oneself from the burdens of aggressors, right? So a lot of people who have been badly abused by other people turn to cursing for wrath, for wrathful justice, for divine justice, for justifiable wrath and things of that nature, which is one of the major reasons, probably one of the only reasons in my head at least, to be cursing. It's people coming for you over and over and over and over and over again, and so you fight back magically because that you have that available to you, and that allows you to take an element of your power back. And so hexing the moon is really bizarre because it doesn't exist in that situation. You know, there is no. I mean, firstly, that's another reason why the hex won't work. There is no emotion behind that hex, and the only time cursing and hexing works for people is when it is fueled by a deep-seated emotion. So hate and anger or frustration or like betrayal, and all of that feeds into cursing, and so without those things you can't really curse or hex. So just in case anybody is still worried, I really don't think you can hex the moon because you really don't have beef with them. Like we said earlier, you don't really have beef with any of these things, and it's just attention seeking, so it's not gonna do much, ladies and gents. So if that's it, if no one has any further questions about the topic, I am going to sign off for the night. Thank you guys for watching. It was fun. Don't hex the moon, guys. It didn't do anything to you. It's just bright and shiny, reflecting the sun, being a satellite, not a planet, as someone pointed out earlier. Please stop calling it a planet. It's a satellite. Many blessings, everybody. Talk to you soon. Catch you on the next one.